Before I dive into the deeper fabric of this video, I want to make it very clear that while you were not responsible for the trauma that you endured in childhood, you are responsible for doing something about it, for healing. You're responsible for healing. Whether or not you so choose to take that route is entirely up to you. However, I will also make it clear that if you do take that route, your life will turn out a drastically different way than what it would have if you don't. And when I say that, I don't mean to instill fear in anybody. Quite the opposite. Being curious about your own sense of self, your own healing, how your life can evolve if you choose to heal childhood trauma is wild. With that, I'm going to talk about something that, I think that a lot of people don't really address, don't really explore, don't really dive deeply into. And it involves looking at this idea of laziness that seems to be an intergenerational theme. You know, parents have kids and then they think that their kids are lazy, per se. But something that is definitely not, I'm not here to claim fact or truth in any of this stuff, just based on my opinion, based on the general material of conversation that I hear when people talk, is that a lot of parents are, at least from what I've learned, a lot of parents are seemingly out of touch with not only their own sense of neurotic shit, all of the shame and guilt that they inlay on their children, but also that their children did not ask to be born. And I understand that at this point there are probably going to be a lot of people that have defense mechanisms that come up, shut this out, probably click out of the video. Whoever this resonates with, awesome. I'm not here to persuade anybody. I'm just here to explore an idea that I think is deeply fucking fascinating. And also to look at something that, again, not claiming fact or truth here, but something that I would argue is gaslighting. First and foremost, yeah, you bring a child into this world, and no child comes out of childhood without some level of marring and scathing. No fucking matter how healthy the parents are, the parenting dynamic, trauma still occurs. It'll be more on the mild side, less on the severe side, but it still occurs. And I would see that the parents that are less emotionally healthy, that don't allow their children to develop with healthy boundaries, individuation, and differentiation, essentially developing into a healthy adult, they are usually the ones that are far more out of touch with even considering the idea that, oh, wait a second, my child did not ask to be born. Well, whatever, fuck it. I'm just going to still lack healthy boundaries, lack individuation and differentiation on my own end, which was never worked through, so it was never structured. And I'm going to just inlay a bunch of bullshit that child did not ask for on them. It's not good or bad or right or wrong. Again, it's just unhealthy. And this is the way that, in my opinion, a lot of parents that are unhealthy emotionally approach parenting. All of the neurotic shit, the shame, the guilt. It's kind of like, you ever see those scenes in movies where like everything in the scene comes to a like crashing halt? Something happened or something that was said that just completely shook up the fucking narrative. I believe that this is one of those things. the reality that no child asked to be born. Nonetheless, no child asked to be born into dysfunctional, unhealthy family systems of survival with enmeshment, and have all of these different things that they endured be laid upon them. Now, again, I'm simultaneously aware that the extent to which this will be received, I'm less interested in how many people will receive it, and I'm more interested in that it will be received. Because, a lot of people are probably going to be like, "Oh, who the fuck gives a shit? Like, they're here, they're here, but they didn't ask for any of it. They didn't ask for the neurotic guilt of being told that everything was fucking sacrificed for them to be here. They didn't ask for that. No matter how much you want to twist it, no matter how you want to twist it, they didn't ask for that. They didn't. And again, it's important to, while understanding that what you were traumatized by and with was not your responsibility. Unfortunately, the parents that raised you were emotionally unhealthy and lacked very necessary things to raise you in a healthy way. They're not good or bad, or right or wrong. They just have their own fucked upness that they never worked through. But the more important thing is as I see it, the unfortunate collective gaslighting. The reason why I call it collective is because it's like intergenerational. Like, you look at how older generations were gaslighted by their parents into believing that they deserved to get the ever-living shit kicked out of them, even though they didn't ask to be born. Yeah, the gaslighting of, physical or emotional abuse being necessary to kick somebody's ass into action. Again, that person did not ask to be born. I don't give a fuck how you twist it. I don't give a fuck what you think about it. The very reality is, no matter how much that person was gaslighted and manipulated into believing that they were this, they were that, laziness is a label. It's a label. Maybe the child just didn't want to do it. And your expectations and your perception of what the child should or shouldn't be are fucking irrelevant. And that's something that's very hard to swallow as a pill for many people, in this case specifically parents. Because I would argue that no parent wants to hear that their children did not ask to be born. Their children did not ask to be born into a family system of exceedingly deep dysfunctionality and unhealthy dynamics, where they essentially learned a bunch of exceedingly deep and unfortunate dysfunctional behaviors from the parents. It's very fascinating to look at this for that, and to, just look at laziness as like it's just a label. It's just a perception, because when you take that other perception of, oh, well, wait a second, they didn't ask to be born. Holy shit. What do we do with that? Well, you could look at yourself, for starters. You could recognize that you've probably been carrying on you a fuck ton of expectation that you, through survival, hardly even chose to, but still did, because there was no other way to make it but by taking on that perspective that was seemingly the only perspective available. Nonetheless, in an entire fucking collective society that is seemingly enmeshed and believes the same fucking thing, oh, these kids are fucking lazy. According to your standards, because they're not doing what you want them to do, they didn't even get a chance to have a healthy childhood and to develop into autonomous individuals. And that might go over a bunch of fucking people's heads. Again, I'm more curious about the people that resonate with this rather than the mass majority. Because again, defense mechanisms come up and people shut out whatever it is because it's a challenge against their reality. Some people might say, oh, well, they are lazy. Yeah, well, they didn't ask to be born. And not only did they not ask to be born, they also didn't ask to be born into a fucked up family system that doesn't even fucking, through the course and process of healthy boundaries, individuation, and differentiation, consider them. Yeah, when somebody's born in an unhealthy family system where they are not considered, where the parent's word is the word, and the word of the children or the child just does not even fucking exist, yeah, they just end up becoming essentially at the bare minimum, or even the majority of whatever it is they become, a narcissistic extension of those parents that lacked any ability throughout their entire fucking life to look at themselves, to recognize their own shit, and to question the way that they were raised, too. Again, I understand that this is something that's probably very difficult for a lot of people to look at, but it's also simultaneously fascinating, you know? Like, yeah, you could get sucked into that entire thing of, laziness. Oh, you are lazy, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. You could get sucked into that. It's not good or bad or right or wrong, but just simultaneously recognizing, first and foremost, that your children did not ask to be born. It's a healthy thing to, at some point, hopefully sooner than later, take responsibility for your life and your own healing, because, again, it was not your responsibility to be traumatized by parents that you didn't ask them to have you brought into this world. No, you didn't ask for the trauma, but it's a fucking really cool and healthy thing to take the responsibility on yourself to get to know yourself better. And the fascinating thing about that, too, is that the deeper you dive into yourself, not only the more you understand yourself, the more you understand your system, your family system, and the people around you. The better you see yourself, the better you understand yourself, the better you'll understand all of that stuff. But yeah, that's just something to ponder before I end off this video. I do see it as gaslighting when you call somebody lazy. And before I end off this video, I will really say, for instance, those who had far more severe childhood trauma, I'm not here to compare trauma or anything, it's just that there's a difference between people that had more severe trauma and had less severe trauma. That's just the reality of it. But, the fascinating thing of being called lazy while simultaneously being raised by a parent or multiple parents that are so fucking deeply unaware of themselves, unaware of their own fucked upness, and just the whole, when you're raised like that, you're raised in survival. So you're essentially, the fascinating characteristic of being raised in, the defense mechanism of shutting down, of freeze, of just, you're just surviving. So that's how it looks. And simultaneously understanding that laziness is just a word. It's just a label. And quite honestly, it's usually far more inaccurate than anything. If somebody doesn't want to do something, they just don't want to do it. That's the reality of it. Again, they did not ask to be born. They did not ask to be born into a dysfunctional family system. They did not ask to be born and raised in survival. They did not ask for a lack of boundaries in the system, which then they learn and they become attracted to people that possess those same qualities, those same characteristics and dynamics. I'm really interested in seeing everything for what it is, and I go fucking deep, if you haven't noticed already. And so, yeah. Are your children lazy? Or have you yet to look at deeper elements like, oh, wait a second, my children did not ask to be born. Should I look at myself? how much of myself and everything that I learned growing up have I not looked deeper at and even challenged?